Mind heritage, empowering mind.
That's last time. When he talked about the 80-20, you see that one quote came out of the 80 words you read. You took 20. That's why I said you don't have to understand the whole. Sorry, you don't have to remember everything in that book. Pick one word. Atomic Habits. For me, from that book till today, there's only one thing. He says that you don't rise to the level at which you set goals. You rise at the level at which you create systems. So you can have your goals without systems. You cannot achieve. So that means for me to rise, yes, I need this, but this is the systems I'm working. And everything, when you're trying to change a habit, you have the goal, but without the system. That's why he went on to say, have, one thing you're going to do every day. It's a system already that you set forth. So if you are able to apply what you read from that book, if you can't remember this, it's going to a drain. We're together. Then, distractions. Whenever we are reading the distractions, I know the cameraman are some of you are turning, those are distractions, and you cannot live in a non-destructive world. That's close to impossible, but you can put yourself in sync and let the distraction be part of the reading. So can we read inclusively, not exclusively? Like you are reading, and you're the border guy, music there, here, but I still diffuse everything inside. And once you do that, that's when you remember most. Because you remember that a border guy and you remember where you had reached while reading. So many of us there are people who will tell you that for me, I read best when I'm in solitude. When I isolate myself, there is no sound, there is no one. It is okay. Find what suits you. But most cases, research has shown that guys who do read so much in solitude actually remember less. Because you get bored. So in this second one, I want you to break it into 3 chunks. Remember we talked about last time introduction, heading, main body, and conclusion. When we are learning English, you went through that in primary. Now here I want you to read this and break it into 3 chunks. And I will see everyone will present their 3 chunks. Our 3 chunks will be different, right? Break it down into 3 chunks, and I want you to create your own visual map. Carbon monoxide, climate change, fossils, blah, blah. I don't know how you did yours, but how would you cluster it into the 3?
Them? Kind of factors, changes that occur, the environment, because of these external factors. Then how the role that we have to play.
But doctor told us to do 3 clusters, though me I did 4.
Okay, it's okay.
We're understanding climate change. I started with understanding what climate change is. It's the change in weather patterns and temperature alteration in a given place. Yeah, I went to the causes. Climate change, that would be deforestation, use of fossil fuels, basically all the causes that lead to climate change. That class that I had was the effects of the climate change. So effects, we had melting of the ice polar caps, prolonged droughts, and the effects that we had was and harming ecosystems. Then my last one was solutions. finding the solutions. That would be us carrying out afforestation, using limited fossil fuels, or switching to renewable energy. So for my visual, nice. Then at the turn, these are supposed to be solar panels. So some of the causes of the greenhouse deforestation that leads to climate change, which would lead to increased yes, the yes, due to the increase in distance, it leads to the no ice. So the solution that I had come up with was using solar energy.
Wow. Now you see what is interesting is that if I now call you for a presentation and you carry only this, would you
Do your presentation.
you can do your presentation and do that. Now PowerPoint, many of us do this.
Yeah.
And when you do this, the audience you're talking to won't learn.
Yeah.
They won't follow. But when you do this, they're acquisitive to know what is this, what is this, what is this, what is this. So when you start to explain, they start to relate, right? And for you, now you're spending more time trying to explain this because now you're getting it from your own self, not
Other than
from
reading the words.
reading the words, right? Yeah, that's the power of creating the visuals. It helps you relate more. Now you've related with it and you've come out with it. And that's what we do when you're reading.
But the funny thing is, you presentations use PowerPoint, use the other, but they've never really
Intrigued somebody,
Yeah,
like
okay.
even to you
Yeah.
yourself.
why.
Yes.
Why?
Because that's how I was taught it, but why? I've seen how.
But me, I was even doing my presentation before.
Wow,
And you kept asking me, why don't you add? And I'd be like,
Visuals.
why? It's now that I'm understanding the importance. I also may think that it's for the beauty, that
No.
it looks good.
By the time you do this,
Yeah.
you've understood your
understood,
work. Even when, remember, we are human beings, we connect through emotions. Now, as you're explaining, you're looking at me, we are connecting because you're not spending more time reading word by word. So when you start reading word by word, we talked about delays and without comprehension. Now you're just reading, somebody's thinking you copy and paste. But as you relate, some other things will come that you are not included there. And as you're explaining, something comes out, and somebody says, yeah, this person has really understood what they are explaining. Yes, Aaron.
Anyway, what I picked from what I read, it's basically about climate change. And I divided it into three, as you said. One, the causes of climate change, which there's deforestation.
Short forms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deforestation. There is this one is just even off the top of my head. The heavy industrialization.
That's HI.
HI. Yeah, okay, the causes of climate change, then the effects of this same climate change. The effects were there was melting of ice caps, destruction of vegetation, like vegetation can't grow, rise of sea levels, and the last category I picked from it is who is affected by climate change. And I realized from what I read, I realized it's mostly the poor people who are affected by the climate change.
A story of courage and color so faint, but we find the hues, the shades, the tone.
Yeah, sadly I did not draw. That's what I picked.
Okay. Now for you, start with the causes, effects, and what is
and who is affected.
who's affected. Okay. It covers it all, but as I'd said, different people have different ways of remembering things. So it's not this fits all. You find your, as long as you have now more or less for you, what you started with were the causes. But when you understand the causes more, they'll give you the effects and why it happened. So that was your own take, which is fine, which is okay. Okay. Yeah.
Like Aaron, I didn't draw, which really speaks to what I've been doing. I've not been doing a lot of visuals, like I said, but this was very important for me because listening to Anne and Albert, I actually picked more from the drawings, the visuals, as compared to the points side. And then maybe, like Albert, next time I'll try to first define. So, looking at climate change, I didn't get to the definition. I looked to what causes it. The temperature alterations, which gives us now the increase in the greenhouse gases, which later destroys the ecosystem and then affects the community. Where there's drought, there's no food, and then people are affected. So I think more like Aaron, I looked at the causes and then what comes out of it and the effect it has on the people, leading to death eventually, and then it also led me to the importance of us protecting the climate. It was that brief.
So you also started from backwards. Yeah. You know, I knew somebody was going to do that because it's very profound. Like, I may find it very easy for me to start with climate change, the head itself, and I move down. But there's so many people who will start with a conclusion, or will start with the causes, something in the middle. But that builds up on everything. And even that goes into remembering. We have different forms of remembering. Some may start with the back, forward, some will start in the middle, some will start with just something abstract. Not even on that thing, but they know when that comes, now it takes them to the whole comprehension that they read, which is very important. So this is what I wanted us to do practically. Even when we are reading, this is what we should do. Remember, break, you just visualize. Now when you come back, you look and you see the visuals that you had. You don't have to look there always. One turn is enough. Brings all the points that you did. Okay. We forget because of these basic reasons. You'll agree to disagree. The first thing we have not understood. Also, and understanding comes from interest. Right? And when you don't have interest, then understanding interest, yes. Relevancy. If I tell you now that JK, come and we go together, I have $500,000 US. Let's go to one city you have not gone to, Gulu. We'll go and hide it. Not so. Okay. I cover your face. We go to Gulu. I open your face. I take you to a place where I've hid it, and we walk until we get to the bus, and I cover your face again. And I get you back to Kampala. I'm like, you go and get the money. Will you get the money? Why? You see? Interest. You will know once I get to Gulu town. I know where to go. And most importantly, we fail all these triggers. We are human beings, we live clues. There should be a trigger that drives your memory. He says in that book that all habits start and fall from here. There's always a trigger. You have no interest in drinking today, you're like, today I'm not going to take any beer. Now as you're walking, you look at someone at the bar with a very cold glass of beer. That's a trigger. Eh? Or somebody calls you like, it's a Friday. What does Friday trigger to you? Right? You go back into the habit. So triggers. Now in reading, we should have triggers. Those are like our pointers. Remember the 3 outlines, the clusters? Those are our triggers that will make us remember. Now, we forget because we don't have interest in what we are reading. If I give you a book on aerospace, then if I give you 5 years, you'll never remember it, you'll never understand it. There's no interest, there's no relevance. So you won't understand it. Now I come and I talk to you about insurance, I show you a book, yeah, you'll have sleepless nights. There's interest, there's relevance, and now you understand it. Now, when you have all these are the things that build to our long-term memory. Because as you read it, you'll understand, you relate, and you have interest. No, it goes in. Now, most of the things, why we took up that passage, I knew at a certain point that we are going to stop reading, and that's what happens. Now, her standing and telling us is a distraction, and it will happen when you're reading. You get distracted, your brain brings another concept, and you kuvakumulamu, as they say. Now, have you seen people who are reading and they stop and they're thinking, and that's what are you thinking? The brain naturally is very weak, naturally, until you command it. It's until when you command it that it pulls all the army together to bring forth of what you are doing. And what is interesting is that our brain cannot differentiate what is physical and what is mental. So our thoughts can be what you're seeing, the 5 senses. Now we can hear the water splashing, our attention is there. It has already wandered. So that monkey, we normally feed it with bananas and it keeps wandering, right? But can you pay attention as it, like, oh, that's water. Acknowledge it, it's water. And move on.
Be able to move.
And move on. Because if you don't name it, it controls you. That's why the Jews knew it, that when you marry, the woman takes over your name. You know what that means? You own her, literally. So she will respect and you will command because you've named. And the same thing happens with thoughts and emotions. If you can catch it and name it, halfway the puzzle, you've won. So when you are reading and there's distraction, name it. Hey, that guy is shouting. The brain will calm down. Hey, there's some noise. Okay. My phone has rung. To calm down. So, mental and physical, it doesn't differentiate. There's a study on this. The Americans had a game that was supposed to play in Russia in the 80s, 70s. Now they went there, had underestimated the weather. When they got there, winter hitting. They couldn't play American hockey. They kept indoors. They didn't have coaches or trainers. They were just there. So what they did, the coach knew one, they're called, forgetting the name, the guys who train mentally. Then they started practicing in their restrooms or in the camps where they were. Practicing playing hockey without actually playing hockey. So it's a mental game. Pass it to Judith, pass it to Albert, pass it to Aaron, pass it to Anne, pass it to Lucky Gardner. They played, they practiced until the season went off, the snow. When they went to play, actually, what they had practiced is what they played. And the question is, how? That's where the concept of mental and physical emanated or originated from. The brain can't know the physical. As long as you do it, either you do it physically or mentally, it will take it up. Now, what you do in remembering, you're creating pathways. It's like if there's grass. Now, when you start passing there every day, the grass withers and teethers, and by the time you know it, there's a pathway. The same thing happens. And once that pathway is there, chances that it becomes permanent. Everybody will want to pass there. So the same thing happens with the neurons. So every time you do it physically or mentally, you're creating the neurons. So it's our responsibility that after we have understood this, that's why we have the foreplay. I may choose the word. When I talked about before reading, you're creating interest. You want to see how relevant is it. Can I use it? Do I have? And then after you have this comes in. This is the last. Understanding comes last. Because every time you break something big into something small, like other visual, somebody will look at it and say, they've understood it. Take it there. Okay. You see what we have just done?
Behind every shadow, there's a canvas to
This is what we had just done.
a story of
We talked about mind mapping. You remember? Now, for you, this visual or the other book can be this.
giving life to the
You have seen these guys, speakers, they come with placards. Yeah? When you look at that placards or those cards, they don't have words. It's just a picture. You'll keep flipping another picture. Maybe he has put climate change. Another climate change, he has put what is climate change?
shades of tone.
What I want them to take home to understand about climate change. So we'll just look at it once and we'll know what he has to explain. That is mind mapping. Remember we talked about mapping based on what you know, because the brain moves from the known to the unknown. You cannot start from the unknown to the unknown. No. If you're to remember, you have to touch something that you know so that you can remember what you do not know. So this can be one. Mind mapping. You put your branches, this is maybe the cluster 1, cluster 2, you see it has different, yeah? So depending on what suits you best, you can use that. The second, we talked about pacing, if you remember. Uh-oh,
Courage
yes.
thing. But we find the hues, the shades of tone.
Remember when we talked about pacing? The first time when we were being taught A, E, I, O, U, there was a pointer somewhere. Or they'll come to your book and they're like, A, E, I, O, U. And the same thing. You can use your pen as you're reading.
A story,
If you're to measure it,
color so
you'll find that you're more faster than just using your eyes at the start. So you can pace. The second is
and seeds weave.
the zigzag. We talked about this one. You get a book. Remember, you've clustered. So you don't have to. I thought everyone will come with a book. When we have the same books, it becomes more easy because we are reading the same thing. Now, for example, you don't read. Many of us read like this. It's slow, or it slows you down. It comes to a time that actually you're reading. By the time you're reading here, your other eye is going here. So you're reading these top words. We went through it last time. You remember the head notes here. Now it becomes a zigzag, and you don't read one paragraph or one sentence. You cluster like two. When I am reading here, I'm reading also this one. So when I come to this one, I'm going to this one. So it's a zigzag. And the people, when you have understood how to cluster, then it means you don't even move like this. You move from here. That's this one. You just read from the middle. Now, from the middle, when they say that your eyes are just moving like this, that means you're able to read here, able to read here, able to read here. It's a skill. Just take it on each at a time. Then we talked about these side ones last time.
You enjoy the reading.
Yeah, you do. Because remember, you're no longer reading words. You've either clustered them or you're just visualizing them. You read it and it goes. It's very important when you leave this place, you try it. You try and see. Then we have this S that moves from side to side.
feels heavy in the nights too.
Smallest of the same thing.
Just hold
Then we have the zigzag. Yeah, it can be, as I've said, line per line. Some people can take 4 lines at a go. You know, as you start with 1-2 lines, as you keep doing it, you keep growing. So you'll find if you're reading 1 line, you're going to 2 lines, 3 lines, and you're taking them as a cluster. And somebody will be like, this one is just joking, but you actually read it. Then you start from 1, you upgrade, and you find yourself getting to the other. Let's see what Tim Ferriss says. Tim Ferriss is one of the life best learners. He has tried out all the experiments that are put out there. That's why they call him the life learner of our generation.
Some power in mind.